So it is a brutally cold day after Thanksgiving here in Pittsburgh. Snowing, windy, feels like 12. So I thought I'd try to warm things up by making some mallets here in Surge XT. Some tuned percussion. Just in time for Christmas, when these sounds are often deployed. So we're going to be making a bunch of sounds today. We're going to make a marimba, xylophone, Glockenspiel, Vibraphone, Celesta, steel drum, and church bells. And we'll start by making a little template that we can use for most of these sounds. And this will be the fun part, and then a little later we'll get to the hard part. So let's go grab an initialize patch and set our oscillator 1 to FM3. And while we're here, we'll set oscillator 2 to FM3 as well. We're going to use FM3 because it will allow us to use non-integer numbers for these ratios here. And those will give us some of the inharmonic tones that we'll be looking for in these sounds. And the other really important element to these sounds is going to be the envelope. Or envelopes, because we'll be using a few of them. Let's go set up our amp envelope. We're going to want a pretty short attack to start with. But this attack will be one of the things that we play around with a bit to get a Hi, Savannah. This attack will be something that we can play around with to get a harder or a softer strike with our mallet on our metal bar. But usually we're going to want this pretty short. The sustain goes all the way down. And the decay and the release we want to be about the same, although we will be adjusting them both significantly for each sound. And we have an optional wrinkle to the decay that we'll talk about once we've got a sound going. Now down here in our modulators, we're going to make two envelopes. So we'll repurpose LFOs 1 and 2. And I'm going to name this one Tone. And I'll rename this one Transient. So the tone is going to be the overall tone of the whole decay, the entire sound. The transient is just going to be a tiny little tick at the beginning for the actual instant when the mallet is coming into contact with the metal or wood. So the transient is going to be a very short decay time, and we'll bring the sustain all the way down. And by very short, I mean very short. Sometimes I just bring this down as low as it will let me go, which is 0. But like 0.9, that'll be okay to start with. What do you want, Savannah? The cat wants to participate in the video. Now the tone, this is going to vary how long we want the decay. We also want to check these deform sliders and bring those all the way to the right on both of these so that we get this natural concave shape to our decay. Settle down, cat. Now the tone is going to fade out the partials, harmonics and inharmonics, and those will decay down usually just to a sine wave. And that'll take a certain amount of time that will depend on the sound that we're using. We'll have to dial that in. So those are the main setup things. Let's see what we've got. Okay, let's get some dynamics and envelope action going on. I'm going to drag down this velocity slider so we have velocity sensitivity. And then let's look at our modulations. So for the tone, what we want to do is we want to bring up the M1 amount and M2 amount in our FM3 oscillator number 1. Now we've already got a sound that we can picture this turning into a marimba or a xylophone or a Glockenspiel. That's because it defaults to this M2 ratio being way too high. Bring that down to like a 3. Well, let's do somewhere around 3, but not exactly 3, so we can get our inharmonic content. Now let's give it a little more bite to the beginning. Go to our transient and also modulate both of these amounts. Now one thing to note here is that we're going to modulate the amounts. We're not going to modulate the ratios. It's going to sound weird if you continuously modulate the ratio. If you want to, you could modulate ratio with the velocity or with the random per note. Switch to normal. And I tried that for some of these to give it some variation in the strike of the mallet. If you try that technique, you don't want the tone envelope modulating the M2 amount, only the transient. And now the cat is playing the keyboard. Savannah, stop eating my virus. Bring the transient amount up some more so you can hear it. Maybe we need a little more decay on our transient. So using that random gives it the effect of just you're hitting the strike is happening at a different angle or on a different part of the bar or whatever. And I opted not to use that in these sounds. It's a nice touch, but it was making them a little, it was weird when that initial tone was changing too much. So I'm opting not to do that, but it is an option. You could use velocity or you could use random. Anything that's going to stay the same for the duration of the note, it's okay to modulate the ratio with. But if it's going to change, like if it's an envelope or an LFO, that's going to sound weird. So if I modulate the ratio with this. That can be cool, but it's not really a realistic mallet sound. So get rid of that modulation, reduce this amount, shorten this envelope again. Make sure I've got nothing modulating that. And we can make these amounts more extreme if we want. I find that the more you modulate the amount, the shorter you want this transient decay to be. Because otherwise it's going to sound like a synthesizer. Which is not super realistic here. Let's edit our M1 ratio here a bit. Let's put that at 3.5 should be cool. Now the optional amp envelope trick is we're going to set this decay to be pretty short so that when you press and hold the key, it'll be like you're holding the mallet down on the bar. So it'll dampen it. And that's kind of realistic. And then if you touch it really quickly, you'll get it like an actual strike. And it will use the release stage. So that's something you can do if you want your playing style to be a little more mallet-like. I'm not going to do that here because I find it really weird. It's just kind of the opposite of the way you normally play on a keyboard, which is what I'm playing today. It might work better on other controllers, like if I were to play this on the instrument, or something that doesn't give you any, that your finger doesn't sink into when you press it. So the instrument would count as that. Like a drum pad could work. But playing it on the keyboard, it's just weird to do it that way. So I'm going to keep my decay and release about the same. So now I'm going to play with this a little bit. First I want to save it right here because this is what we need. So I'm going to call this mallet template. I'm going to save it in the category mallets vid. Oh, one more thing I'm going to do here before we get to the marimba. In our mallet template, which I have reloaded, I just want to add some velocity control to these envelopes, the tone and the transient. So I'll bring them down about here and pull them back up with the transient. And save this again. All right, so the marimba. A delightful, lower pitched and classier version of the xylophone. It's going to help us to have some good reference sounds to listen to. I have Ableton's Orchestral Mallets pack, which is not the best reference, maybe, but it's not going to violate anyone's copyright. And it is the real instrument recorded with real microphones by real people. So it should give us a ballpark idea of what we want. Now what's our template sound like? First thing I want to do is pull down this decay and release a little bit. This is a block of wood. It's not going to ring out forever. Now the next thing we need to do is go over to our oscillators and set up our ratios. Now determining the correct ratio is the hard part to these sounds. I was hoping I'd be able to look online and find some scientific paper that had them all mapped out for all the instruments I wanted. That proved optimistic. I asked the AI, Gemini, what those partials should be. And it said some things and gave me some actual FM ratios to play with. And it was kind of okay, but not really the level of accuracy that I was looking for. So what we need to do is analyze the spectrum and then construct the partials we want out of the various different modulators and oscillators. It could be a long and involved process. I'm not going to do that with every sound that we're doing today. I will do it on the Vibraphone, so we can get a glimpse of it there. For now, I'm just going to give you what I came up with. This is not going to be a definitive set of ratios. It's the best I could do with the amount of time that I had and the number of sanity points that I had available to spend. So what I got for this M1 ratio was 11.333. Turn this transient down some. And I'm not going to use modulator 2 in this sound. So I'm going to turn its modulations off. I am going to use oscillator 2. So let's bring its volume down all the way and unmute it. Use the transient to bring it up about halfway, and use the tone to bring it up the rest of the way. And for this oscillator, make sure I'm looking at the right oscillator. I'm looking at oscillator 2. I'm going to bring the octave up by 2. I'm going to use a ratio of 2.89. And I'm going to apply the transient to the amount. And let's compare that with our reference. Now, if you listen to the reference, you're going to hear a high tone, much higher than the deep tone. And when I slam it really hard, you'll hear it better. So what I need to do is get that in the into my surge patch. And that's what I'm using this oscillator 2 at +2 octaves for. I think it's not being loud enough right now. Let me mute oscillator 1 and see what's going on. Okay, it's just too quiet. So I'm going to bring it up more with the tone. And a little more with the transient. Unmute oscillator 1. And this was Ableton's again. I still want that louder. And maybe to modulate it a bit more. So be careful to know which of these oscillators you're messing with. It's important. It sounds like we've also got a faster attack when we slam really hard. So I'm going to pull the attack down, modulated by velocity. It's So it's not quite as bright as I'd like it to be, but let's hear what Ableton sounds like up there. Now ours is a little too bright. I'm going to throw in a low pass filter just to cut the edge off at the very top. This is ours. And this is Ableton. We also have more sustain going on ours. And that's because on the higher bars, the smaller bars, the energy tends to dissipate more quickly than it does on the lower, more resonant bars. So I want to add a little modulation to our depth, decay, and release using the key tracking. So I'm just going to pull these down a little bit. Let's compare with little Ableton. My velocity, I'm playing the Ableton stuff on the instrument and surge on the keyboard. So like my velocities are a little bit different there. So it's a little harder to get a consistent thing going with the instrument here. Because it's more velocity sensitive than the keyboard is. But I think this is our marimba. They've also got a reverb on the Ableton one. So let me give us a reverb. What's a good one? Concert hall. Crank down the mix. I think we've got a little too much of that key track modulation. So yeah, I think this is our marimba. I don't want to go crazy trying to make it match this particular reference, but you could go on all day playing with this and bring it closer to the exact thing that you want. I think down here, that's pretty cool. That's deeper than a regular marimba usually goes, I think. But we're using a synthesizer, so we can do what we want. All right, so I'm going to save this mallet. This is the marimba. Okay, so now the xylophone. The xylophone is like the marimba's hyperactive younger brother. It's smaller, it's higher in pitch, and it's got a much more aggressive tone. And if you're not careful with it, it will call to mind images of cartoon animals running around and blowing each other up. I'm not going to reload my template. I will stay with the marimba sound because it's very similar. And I'm going to want to use a lot of the same things that I've just set up. So the xylophone, let's listen to Ableton's for a second. So that's what we're going for. So for our oscillators, oscillator 1 M1 ratio is going to be 6.59. And we're not going to use M2. Now if we listen, there's a very high and obnoxious ping in this sound. You can hear it really well when I really slam on it. So we're again going to use oscillator 2 to do this, and we're going to do it at +3 octaves, plus 5.1 semitones, 5.01 semitones. And we're going to hope that's going to give us that really loud and obnoxious ping. Now it's sort of in there, but I want to hear it come through better. I'm going to adjust the, give us some more headroom and balance. I'm going to pull down the volume on oscillator 1 and bring up this gain here. I don't love this reverb we've got. Yeah, our M1 ratio is going to be about 2, a little off, 2.07. So with these ratios, when you're closer to an even numbered ratio, you're going to tend to only get half of the partials. You'll get the odd numbered partials. Whereas if you're using the odd numbered ratio, then you'll get all the partials. And so that means, in theory, the even ratio gives you a more hollow sound. And I was thinking that this might give us a more wood material sound rather than metal. And when I tried this principle out on the marimba, what I ended up getting was kind of it sounded like a bamboo marimba. So it did sound wooden. It did not sound so much like a marimba. So this isn't a 100% reliable idea here. But I do want this high ping we're talking about does sound very woody to me. And I think the even ratio is a better choice for that. But it's also, we're going to miss a lot of the partials because it's so high. They're going to get cut off either by the filter or by the limits of human hearing. See if I can turn up this cutoff some. And I'm going to pull down this attack because I want a more aggressive attack on this. I'm going to turn the reverb down all the way. I'm going to give us a steeper filter because we're still getting very, very high partials that are making it sound more metal. It is difficult to get this ping to come through as loudly as I want it to. Let's have less of the modulation on the amount. We don't need a lot of amount because we're mostly going to hear that sine wave at 3 octaves plus 5 semitones. So again, we could be at this all day. But we don't have all day. I'm going to save this as our xylophone. And now we'll move on to the Glockenspiel. So I'll reload my template. And if the xylophone's the hyperactive younger brother, the Glockenspiel is the prettier and more well-behaved, but even younger and tiny and squeaky half-sister. Half-sister because she's made out of metal, whereas the marimba and xylophone are both wood. First, I'm going to move us up an octave. We might even want to go up 2 octaves. Make sure we're doing the right oscillator, oscillator 1, plus 2 octaves. Our ratios are going to be 3.07 and 6.31. Bring down decay and release a little bit. The Glockenspiel kind of rings out more because it's made of metal, so it has a greater sustain than the xylophone or the marimba, but at the same time it's really high notes, and those high frequencies diminish more quickly. I'm going to add some transient modulation. Pull back on the tone modulation a little bit. I think I've got a little too much decay and release. And shorter attack. It's fun also, so the Glockenspiel has a very high range. It would not be able to play these next notes. But it is fun to try them out. Might give some key tracking to our release again and decay. And I'm going to bring back more tone. And maybe give the M2 a little tone as well. There's a little squish to the decay there that I'm not liking. So go to the transient and pull it back even further. And maybe have less amount. Yeah, that sounds more solid and less squishy. And I'll save that as Glockenspiel. And And now we will do the very exciting vibraphone, which is going to have the hard part and hopefully will not get too tedious. All right, I said this is the one where we're going to look at the process for choosing our ratios. So I'm going to start by grabbing Ableton's vibraphone, bringing it down here into my vibraphone track, my Ableton track. Get the instrument back out and listen to this. Now the vibraphone is larger than the Glockenspiel, so it's got a deeper pitch. It is also metal. And it's got these aluminum bars which will sustain for a really long time. Ableton's doesn't seem to be sustaining very long. I could only crank the release up to 10 seconds. Hello, Savannah. The cat has arrived. So I know from YouTube research that the vibraphone actually sustains much longer than 10 seconds. I think this one guy said it would be 2 minutes if you let it. And so that we can let it, we have a sustain pedal on the vibraphone. So if you're not stepping on the pedal, then these dampers will come up and mute your bars and give you a very short release decay. But you step on the pedal and the dampers come down and you get a really long decay, which makes the vibraphone suitable to be sort of the synth pad of the percussion section. You get those really long sustained notes, and an extra cool feature, which is tremolo, which I'll talk about in a little bit. But first, let's get these ratios as we want them, if the cat's not going to be too distracting. I have to reach for the instrument now to play these notes. So here we can study this. You can see where we got our peak partials. So here's our fundamental around A2, and then we've got a small peak at F4, a big peak at A4, big peak at D6, big peak at B6, and smaller peaks at E7 and A sharp 7. So those are the partials we want to reproduce with our ratios. Okay, Cat, you can get down now. And it's not going to be an exact science. I don't know that we're going to be able to get all of these partials. Because sometimes to create one, you're going to be also creating another one that you don't really want. But we can get close. So back over here to Surge. Back to our mallet template. I'm going to shrink the Surge window so we can look at our spectrum. And I'm just going to deactivate M2 for now. So I'm going to try to start, I'm going to get that first A4 by adjusting the M1 ratio. Got to play the right A first. And there's our A4. And what's this other one we got? E5. We don't really want that E5. But we might have to live with it. Now we need our D6. And for that, I'm going to use the second oscillator. So unmute that. Give it some modulation with tone and transient. This is a D6, so that's plus 3 octaves and plus 5 semitones. Very close to the xylophone, actually. And then the next harmonic we wanted was a B6. I can get that with the same oscillator. I'm going to pull up the ratio until this spike up here drags up to the B6. I need some amount. So it looks like we want a 0.66 and greater amount. Now we still want an E7 and an A sharp 7. So I'm going to go back to oscillator 1 and look at modulator 2. Give that some amount and extra transient. I have to spot the spike to see where it's moving in the spectrum. So it's this spike here we're looking at. And we're going to bring that up till it gets to E7. Bring up the ratio. So about 17. I think we want a little less amount on that. This is sounding a little sparklier than we wanted. Play the A and compare it with Ableton. Our ping is once again not quite loud enough. So let's bring that up some more. Ableton's has a lot of reverb on it. It's recorded in a larger space, I think, and the pings aren't coming through as well when you don't slam on the notes. I think we want our decay on our tone to be shorter. And as I said, it has a lot of sustain, so we're going to bring the decay way up. But keep the release fairly short because we've got the pedal on this one. So when we are not stepping on the pedal, we want the notes to cut off pretty quickly. And let's hear it with the pedal. I think we're going to need some more polyphony. Now, since we've got so much sustain, we could do something cool with that, and the inventors of the vibraphone did. So we have these resonators, which are these big hollow tubes running under all the bars. The marimba and the xylophone have this as well. And they just make the sound resonate and ring out longer. And the cool thing about the vibraphone is there is a rod running through all of the tubes. And attached to this rod inside every tube is a disc that can rotate. And when you turn the rod, the discs will cover the tube and stop the resonance, or they will uncover the tube and let the resonance go, which is a tremolo effect. So there's a motor that you can run. I think it runs between, it's adjustable. It can run between like 1 and 14 hertz. That's what somebody told me. And give our sound some more depth and interest in those long sustains. So let's use LF3 to do that. I'm going to leave it as a sine wave. I'm just going to modulate the gain down about 2 decibels. And I'll put a rate around 3 hertz and see how that sounds. So that was the vibraphone, and that tremolo trick is the coolest thing I learned while researching this video. I did not know that, and I love it. It's awesome. Next we have the Celesta, or Celesta, or Celesta, or Celesta. I can never get a straight answer about how that's pronounced. I think there are multiple acceptable pronunciations. Reload my template. I quickly fell in love with this one while researching it, although I did not know much about it before. So the Celesta is, it's like a piano. It's a keyboard instrument, 61 keys. So I feel like I could actually play this one if someone would give me one. Or, the opportunity to play one. And it's a piano mechanism with hammers that hammer on a thing, but instead of hammering on a string, they're going to hammer on one of these little metal bars. And there's a box under the bar, a wooden box to provide the resonance. And we do also have a pedal on this one for sustain. It's a really cool instrument. It's also interesting. It's like, you know how when you're playing an analog synthesizer for the first time, any analog synthesizer, when you're trying a new synth for the first time, you're legally and morally required to play Jump by Van Halen. Celesta is similar, except you need to play Dance of the Sugar Plum Fairies and or that one song from Harry Potter. So you can assume I just did that off camera because I'm not going to mess with any copyright things. By accident, our template ended up sounding pretty much like a Celesta. But let's go get the right ratios in here. So M1 is going to be 3.2, and M2 is going to be 9.67. And we're also going to add a little noise, a little hammer action noise on this one. So I'll bring our noise oscillator down all the way, unmute it, and bring it back up all the way with the transient. And let's hear it. And it does have a sustain pedal mechanism like the Vibraphone does. It's not going to sustain as long as the Vibraphone, so I'll put this around maybe 5 seconds. And a shorter release, because the dampers will shut it up. And we do have lower notes here than we got on some of the others. So that one is maybe my favorite of the ones we're doing today. At least at the moment it is, because it's a new crush. So I'll save that. So this next sound is a bit of a departure from the cold winter European night vibe of the previous sounds. I want to do a steel drum. And this is my steel drum. Pictured here with my cats, Savannah and Pandora. I can't find the mallets for it, so I don't know if this is how it's supposed to sound. I'm just hitting it with other random things. Okay, it's maybe not a great example of a steel drum sound. This belonged to my grandmother, and I swear when I was a kid over at her house, it had a 4 or 5 foot diameter, and I had to really reach to hit the things. It's actually a little larger than a cookie can. I don't believe I was ever actually that small, so maybe she actually had a larger one that she later got rid of, and I just inherited the tiny one. I don't know. This thing was huge in my memory. But that's one of the cool things about synthesizers. One of the many, many cool things about synthesizers is that after I make this sound, I can also make a sound that represents the giant one that I remember. So let's go back to Surge here. Make my window bigger again. Go back to the template. And our ratios. This one's going to get a little weird, though it will be more musical than the actual thing I just played for you. Our M1 ratio is going to be 2.58, and M2 will be 4.88. And our amounts are actually going to come up this time, even when we're not modulating them with the transient or the tone, because there's a base level of inharmonicity to this instrument. I'm also going to use M3 here at a very low frequency. My reasoning being that all of these different notes are just parts of the larger single piece of metal. And there are different ways that they do this. So this one I have here has just kind of, the notes are hammered into the, they're basically dents in the piece of steel. It's probably not real steel either. So that's one way of doing it. So those parts will vibrate on their own more when you strike them. There are also ones that I've seen, the steel tongue drums, where you have like a squashed sphere and like a tongue shape cut out for each note. And so just that tongue shape will resonate most. And those look like more fun to play. I would kind of like to play with one of those one day. You play those with your hands. I see lots of commercials for them lately. They're really cool. There are a lot of different kinds of steel drums, and I'm not going for a particular one. I just want a steel drumish sound. It's going to lead in well to the bell that we do next. Oh, but the M3, yeah, I'm going to use M3 with a very low frequency. Because the whole piece of metal is going to vibrate a little bit every time we hit it. Also, I'm going to bring up this attack a bunch. I should have switched to analog. Should always use the analog as the first choice for the envelope type. Give us more amount, and I think I want to lengthen this tone decay. And maybe the M3 amount only comes in on the tone. A little more attack. And a longer transient, maybe? Not that long. This is also a good starting point for different kinds of gong sounds, like the little melodic, they call them gongs, in Javanese and gamelan music. Balinese? Maybe both. There's probably a variety of different ratio combinations you can use that will work here. And we'd probably have a shorter decay and release. Way more notes than I have on my real steel drum. So the big changes we made that we want to take note of are we added the amounts at the bass level, not just modulated by the envelopes, to maintain that inharmonic sound throughout. And we did also modify the attack a bunch. This is not the greatest. I'm not going to dwell on the steel drum forever because it's not the greatest thing. This one isn't. Because I don't know enough about steel drum to really get it perfect. But it's going to be a nice lead into the bells. Which are going to take basically the same principle, but we're going to bring the attack back up. Less transient. And more decay and release. A very bell-like sound, but I'm going to start over because I'm going to do it a little differently. So it would be logical, since I did the marimba xylophone, since I did the orchestral tuned percussion instruments, it would be logical to do the tubular bells. But when I was researching that, my tubular bell guy said that those are just made to sound like church bells. And I was figuring, well, since I'm on a synthesizer, why don't I just skip the middleman and make some church bells? So back to my template. I'm going to do things a little differently this time. I'm going to use a different kind of FM. So oscillator 1 is going to be modern sine. Oscillator 2 is going to be a modern sine. And I'm going to use the oscillator FM routing to achieve our inharmonics. And I'm doing this because it sounds differently. It sounds different than the result I got when trying to do this with FM3. I'm not sure exactly why. My guess is that FM3 is using phase modulation rather than true frequency modulation. I don't think there's really a big difference between the two, but whatever that difference is, I can't explain it. But so I think this FM routing is using true frequency modulation, which is just going to sound a little different, and I thought a little better for the bells. Let's give myself a good amount of initial FM depth. These should be louder. So oscillator 2 is muted. So it's just going to, we're not going to hear it by itself, we're only going to hear its effect on oscillator 1. And I'm going to change its pitch. I'm going to bring that up 6.16 semitones. And now I'm going to add the tone, bring up the FM depth, say this far, and the transient, bring it up a little further. Now we're hearing a bit of a squishy synth sound in there. Maybe I want less of this transient. Still a little bit of squishiness. Bring down the tone a bit. Going to apply our key tracking trick to the decay and the release, and also bring those up a little bit. Church bells will ring a long time. It's probably a little too long. Let's give those some reverb. Obviously, this should be cathedral. On an earlier version of this sound, I did use a low-pass filter with a surprisingly low cutoff. The low-pass filter will make them feel a little more distant, like you're hearing them while walking down the street rather than actually being inside the church. And I should mention for this, for the church bells as well as the steel drum, the amount of FM that we're using can push them out of tune. So I'm playing a C here, and it's given me a very sharp D. Get rid of this low pass filter. So you might have to tune your bells. Less this key tracking. I should mention about the difference between FM3 and the oscillator FM routing. That was just a guess that the FM3 is doing phase modulation. I don't know that for a fact. And I don't know that that's why that's what's causing the discrepancy in the sound that I hear. Those are just guesses. Well, that was epic. I made some mistakes in putting this video together that required me to redo large chunks of it, so it was much more epic for me than hopefully it was for you. Anyway, this is a really nice suite of sounds. I used to use them a lot back when I was 18 years old and rocking the Yamaha W7, the General MIDI bank. Pair them with your spookiest piano sound, and you can get some quite nice music out of it. But there you have a marimba, xylophone, glockenspiel, vibraphone, Celesta, steel drum, and church bells, just in time for Christmas. Hope you have a wonderful holiday. And I'll be back next week, I think, with another Pigments video. If you haven't checked out my Pigments series, it's new. It's different than this. It's much more laid back. I'm being less fastidious in trying to be educational and more just having fun with the synthesizer and bathing in the glorious sounds of Pigments, which is quite a wonderful synth. So I hope you join me for those, and I'll be back with another Surge probably next month. It does take some time to put these together. So Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Happy Festivus, whatever other holidays are going on. I don't care if you celebrate them. I hope you have a happy day anyways. And that's from me and my cats. And I'll see you next time.